Hey guys, Cal Kobe Smith, and welcome to History Nation. When we think of slavery, we automatically think of stuff like the Fugitive Slave Act, the Emancipation Proclamation created by Abraham Lincoln, and of course, the Civil War. When we think of the people involved, we think of people like the iconic Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass, and of course, the people who fought to keep slavery going, like Confederate General Robert E. Lee and Confederate President Jefferson Davis. Slavery ended 1865. 166 years later, it's still a polarizing subject in American history. Slavery itself goes back over 300 years ago into the 1700s. So, today on History Nation, let's take a look back of slavery in America. The introduction of slavery in America was a cruel and sadistic journey. Many individuals were crammed into slave ships with little food, little water, no sunshine, and no fresh air.
Drawing of a slave ship shows there was no room to move or breathe. Every inch of space was packed with human beings. For months, there was no fresh air, no sunshine.
It's so dark down here. Hard to breathe. Some of us are sick. Some are dead. I miss my family and my village. My home is gone forever. Once this boat stops, I don't know where I'll be or where I'll be going.
When slave ships landed here in America, the African people who were once free were sold as property to the highest bidder.
Prime male. What do I hear? $500. 700. I have 900 and 1,000. So to the man in the green waistcoat.
One of the worst parts of slavery was that families were separated. Fathers, mothers, and children were often sold separately and never saw each other again.
It's been many years since they took my boy from me. Seems like yesterday. As men come to look on us, poking and prodding like we was meat. I begged and I pleaded, please don't take my child. But they pay no mind to my tears. And my boy, he looked at me, and I said, be good, child. You be good for your mama.
The overwhelming majority of enslaved African Americans toiled in the fields on small farms. Some became house servants while others worked in trades. All enslaved persons suffered indignities. State slave codes forbade enslaved men and women from owning property, leaving a slaveholder's premises without permission, or testifying in court against a white person. Laws even banned them from learning to read and write. Many enslaved men and women found ways to actively resist the dreadful lifestyle forced on them. Some quietly staged work slowdowns, others broke tools or set fires to houses and barns. Still, others risked beatings and mutilations by running away. Some enslaved persons turned to violence, killing their owners or plotting revolts. Free African Americans occupy an ambiguous position in Southern society. In cities like Charleston and New Orleans, some were successful enough to become slaveholders themselves. Almost 200,000 free African Americans lived in the North, where slavery had been outlawed, but they still faced discrimination. Nonetheless, free African Americans in the North could organize their own churches and voluntary associations. They also were able to earn money from the jobs they held. The biggest factor why slavery became huge in America is farming, which the South professed in when compared to the North, who focused on industrialization. Due to the rural landscape of the South, industrial areas like textile mills, factories, ironworks, coal and salt mines were at a minimum, which made up only 16% of the nation's total manufacturing. However, the South thrived on the production of several major cash crops, including cotton, tobacco, rice, and sugarcane. No crop would play a greater role in the South's fortunes during this period than cotton. At first, however, profits from cotton were small, owing to the great amount of labor needed to produce it. Removing cotton seeds by hand from the fluffy balls, or cotton pods, was so tedious that it took a worker an entire day to separate a pound of cotton lint. In 1793, Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin being short for engine, a machine that quickly removed cotton seeds from the balls. Cotton production soared, and by 1860, Southern cotton accounted for nearly 2/3 of the total export trade of the United States. Southerners began rightly saying, "Cotton is king." Cotton was grown in a wide belt stretching from inland South Carolina west into Texas. The spread of cotton plantations boosted the Southern economy, and this greatly increased the demand for enslaved labor. Congress had outlawed the foreign slave trade in 1808. However, a high birth rate among enslaved women encouraged by slaveholders kept the population growing. Well, guys, that's it for episode 1 of History Nation. Next episode, we'll talk about the revolution against slavery and the Civil War. So like, follow, and I'll catch you guys next time.